Hello and welcome to the third official episode of the Unnamed Political Podcast. I'm your host, Clark Walburger.
And I'm Jack Horvath.
And today's episode will be called Feel the Bern.
Mm-hmm.
As you can hopefully tell by the title, we will be discussing the threat Bernie Sanders poses to Hilary Clinton and what his presidency would be like. In addition to that, we're going to stick with the focus on liberal themes today and discuss who else may run before the 2016 election that hasn't announced their candidacy yet, and if they could win, specifically Joe Biden, but any other left-wing candidates maybe, as the Republican field seems quite saturated already.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I suppose let's just get down to it. Jack, Bernie Sanders, how big of a threat do you think he poses to Ms. Clinton?
It's getting bigger, man. I mean, he's already beating her in New Hampshire. I think he's beating her by 7 points, and he's gaining on her in Iowa. I think he's only losing by her in Iowa by a couple points. The national GOP polls that was released on, I think it was August 13th by CNN and the ORC, which is another research center, has Sanders lagging behind Clinton by only 18 points, which is a huge leap from it was at least 40 when she was back up in the 60s for the polls. But I mean, she's dropped because a lot of people think she's untrustworthy. I think there's another poll, man. I can't really say where I got these polls from, but I remember a poll that it was like 53. That was one.
Yes, we're pulling up the poll right now. Yeah, he is getting much closer. The gap is narrowing considerably.
Because people are finally realizing that Clinton's not that trustworthy. Her emails are actually becoming a major scandal that could bring her down. I don't know why I said that with a British accent there. I don't think that the scandals could bring her down. I think they definitely could hurt her, but we don't even know if it will develop into a scandal yet. But definitely her statements the other day on whether or not she wiped the servers did not improve her moral standing with the editor at all. Yeah, no.
Those who can see it, she was asked repeatedly whether or not she cleared the servers of was it just her own personal servers?
Her own private server,
Own private servers, and she refused to answer. In fact, stating at one point, she dodged it quite poorly, in my opinion. One of the instances, she asked what do you mean by wipe them? With a cloth?
Yeah, I know.
If you're trying to appeal to the youth, you're not helping the old lady stereotypes.
I mean, I'm not really a Sanders supporter, but Sanders is an honest candidate. I mean,
he is definitely.
I don't agree with his policies.
I don't, but I definitely I admire the fact that he's willing to admit that he supports socialist policies. He's a socialist.
Exactly. He hasn't changed his views since the 70s. He's had his views be consistent.
Yes.
And unlike Clinton,
he definitely has
here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a growing threat, obviously, to Clinton. Then I mean, who knows? Maybe he could potentially overtake her. We're gonna have to wait, though.
I don't think he could overtake her. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think if the Democratic Party feels that Sanders is posing a threat to Clinton, specifically in the Democratic primaries, that they will tell him to back off because they realize that Clinton is their best bet at winning the White House.
Yeah.
Because Sanders is doing very well with Democrats right now, but he's not. There is no way he is going to win over any Republicans or any conservatives at all. And he is a little bit off-putting to a lot of centrists and the fact that he's a socialist.
Exactly. I mean, he's not even a Democrat. He's an independent, but he goes with the Democratic caucus just so he can have a chance at becoming president. And he definitely doesn't appear to the centrists.
In terms of threat level, do you think he is as severe a threat to Clinton as Donald Trump is to the potential Republican candidate?
Well, I mean, Trump, has literally no chance of getting the nomination. I give Sanders a better comment.
Do you think Sanders is more likely to get the nomination than
Trump,
for Democrats than Trump is for Republicans?
I mean, Trump isn't.
But Trump's leading in the polls right now.
Yeah, but come on. Those are the radicals,
not
the mainstream.
We're still very, very early in the election. As I said to Jack before we started filming, and this is true, there are kids who will be born on Election Day, and this has been mentioned in the news a couple times, whose parents haven't even considered having a kid yet, and in some cases may have not even met yet, which is... it's very far away, so for all we know, what we're talking about now could seem completely mind-boggling that this was ever a possibility of a Sanders presidency or a Trump or Trump presidency, as we discussed in our previous episode.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
But do you think that Sanders might run as an independent?
No.
Like, you don't think he'll break?
He's not that crazy as Trump is. He's willing to step down if he loses.
You don't think he's
less aggressive as Trump is? For sure.
I don't. I feel like he's more
less stubborn.
Yes, yeah. He's definitely very aggressive, but
he's not as stubborn as
he's
Trump.
He's not as for lack of callous. I was gonna say rude, but that seemed a little rude to say. So callous. He's definitely not as callous as Trump.
For sure. I think Sanders is a great candidate. I mean, I don't support, again, his views, but
in terms of politician, you think he's a honest one at least?
Yeah, I think he's a good person. I mean, he hasn't lied. There's no scandals surrounding him. He's been active in politics for at least 30 years.
Oh no, he's been active since the 60s. At least.
Exactly. I mean, he's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's one of his claims. He supported the civil rights movement, actually, when the civil rights movement was going on.
Which is awesome.
Well, yeah, that's good for him. I do not hope he gets elected, and I think most people do not, as again he supports social policy. The other thing is if people think taxes will go up under Hillary, they will go up ridiculously under Mr. Sanders, as he wants to make pretty much, I apologize for overly generalizing, but to quote, I want to say National Review, everything free. But free
college he advocates
free college, free healthcare. He thinks that Obamacare is not liberal enough. It's not far enough, which is surprising considering how it's already just Obamacare in its current form is already hated by the majority of Republicans and conservatives, and he wants to impose an even more intense version of it, which will most likely not bode well for anybody in the future if you have the entire nation divided on it. But in the potential of a Sanders presidency, Jack, what do you think that will mean for like America's standing? We've already covered a little bit economically, but internationally.
I think Sanders wouldn't be that guy. Maybe he'd be good at talking if the NDP gets elected. Who knows?
You think? Okay, yes, the National Democratic Party or another socialist party.
The New Democratic Party.
Oh, did I say national? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, the New Democratic Party. I deeply apologize. Led by Thomas Mulcair. Thomas Mulcair may become the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Let's hope not.
Oh, hopefully not. But however, if Bernie Sanders becomes president, it will be a socialist domination of the two major countries. No offense. Sorry for leaving you out on this one, Mexico, but the two major English-speaking countries. There we go, of North America. And sorry for just dissing Quebec.
Sanders or Clinton?
Who do I support more?
Yeah.
Oh, that is hard. In terms of policy, there's the only time, or one of the few scenarios where I will say this, but I support Hilary Clinton over Bernie Sanders just because Clinton's already very far left, but Sanders is even more far left. It's too extreme. In our America, we need to be able to find solutions that work, that can be in the center. We need to compromise over issues. Sanders is not going to compromise over issues. And we're probably just going to get even more partisanship and gridlock in the issues. I mean, if Congress is able to maintain a Republican majority, then...
Which probably will happen if Sanders... Well, because if Sanders, is a socialist, and a lot of people start to not like Sanders when he's president, there's going to be a Republican majority, obviously.
I feel that definitely that...
which will cause,
he would get, if he gets elected, which again I don't think it would have to be by a very slim margin, so Republicans would most likely be able to hold on to the House, as I think people would feel that's the one way to combat a socialist.
Right.
But it would most likely just end in gridlock.
Exactly.
As he can veto everything, unless they have a large enough majority in order to overrule him again.
I don't think that'll happen.
I don't believe Congress has had a supermajority in years, so...
It's been a while.
Yes, and we are so partisanship, I don't see it likely that Democrats would team up against a Democrat, even how far left Sanders is. Mm-hmm. But so with Iran, how do you think Sanders would deal with the nation of Iran? Do you think...
I think he trusts Iran.
You think he trusts Iran?
More than I do, for sure. Mm-hmm. I think he wants the deal.
I believe
that makes sense.
He wants the deal, yes. How do you think it would deal with Russia?
I think more sanctions. Do you think more sanctions?
I don't know. I feel like he is going to be try to be more aggressive. I think all the Democrats and just all the candidates overall want to be a lot more aggressive than President Obama was, as he has unfortunately kind of sent the message that we can just be walked over in the country. With Russia, though, I don't know if he will do anything. I think he will complain a lot more.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll do a lot more.
Yeah.
Same probably applies to China with their issues in the South China Sea. The fact that they're now at the artificial islands and that sort of thing. Do you think that could grow into a conflict?
No.
You don't think? You think it'll
not
be
at all.
peaceful?
Well, at least not like a military conflict. I think it'll resolve, hopefully diplomatically, but I don't think it's going to grow into anything large enough that it's significant. I mean, I probably hear about it once a week in the news, which is not that often, so I don't think it's getting anywhere.
How do you think? Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm just kind of a little bit of a side note, which I say too much. But North Korea and South Korea today was in the news that North Korea is going into, I think they said, quotation, war footing. I think that means they're preparing for war.
I don't think that will.
That's pretty serious.
I think
they haven't done this before.
The only thing is, I feel that it'll lead to tensions. I don't think it'll happen. It could. So for all we know, we're discussing the beginning of the war. So you think? I think this is definitely going to ruin relations in countries, which we previously thought earlier in the year were thawing when Kim Jong-un appeared to have disappeared and relations started, and some people speculated that he had been overthrown. Unfortunately, that does not seem to have happened.
He might have been.
For all we know,
he might just be a puppet leader.
He may now be a puppet leader, but clearly North Korea has not changed yet. So, whoever, if you're controlling Kim Jong-un and are listening to this podcast, please admit who you are, overthrow the government. How do you think Sanders, to switch the topic to an equally insane regime, probably more? How do you think Sanders would deal with ISIS?
That's a good question.
And terrorism in general, because side note, sorry, I'm stealing this from you, but. Actually, 2 U.S. Marines, as we were giving this podcast, just subdued suspected terrorists on a high-speed train in France, CNN? Preventing a massacre. Yes.
I saw that on my phone, too.
Yes.
Just came up as a notification.
Congratulations to the U.S. Marine Corps. And
pretty impressive.
This is, yes. We do thankfully no longer have another massacre. I mean, France has been getting hit pretty badly lately.
Definitely.
So yes, I can't salute you completely because I'm a civilian, but you guys are awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if we're going back to against ISIS, how Sanders would combat it, I think I think he would pull out Iraq and Syria.
You think he would have nothing, get rid of airstrikes?
Yeah, and I'm basing that off the NDP, which is probably not a good idea, but Mulcair wants to do the same thing. So
yes,
it makes sense because they're both socialists.
They are both socialists. I feel he definitely does not want to involve America in any really foreign conflicts whatsoever. So like I said, much more yelling, probably not much more doing.
Right.
I can see him maybe being willing to keep airstrikes going. He definitely will not increase them, but it's very likely that I think he will stop them altogether, as he will probably just say we need to let them work it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. He would also, interesting side note about Sanders, though, he would probably be, religion would not be a huge factor. Or it could be a bigger factor, might not be bigger, as he is actually Jewish.
I heard about that.
He is, I don't know if he's practicing
Jewish.
City. He is.
You can tell. I can't tell if that's sarcastic or not, because he has a strong accent.
I'm, he is from New York, but
he's from Brooklyn.
He's from Brooklyn. I'm not sure what that has to do with him.
He's cool.
Okay. Well, but so yeah, Sanders would be our first non-Christian president. So that could either make the issue more personal or less personal for him, due to the fact that he was raised Jewish. I'm not sure if he's practicing, but
probably.
I feel that he would definitely not take that. He's definitely a president who I feel would not take it personally, which is interesting. But with that, I feel that foreign policy-wise, the U.S. would probably try to appear that it's not being weak without actually strengthening itself. So right. I feel foreign policy would not thrive under Bernie Sanders.
I agree. Definitely would. I think it would be weaker than Obama.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely. I don't know entirely if it would be, well, I mean, he would, I can see would want to definitely keep relations with Cuba. as Cuba is a communist country.
Yeah.
So even more far left than Bernie Sanders. So I guess in terms of diplomatic relations with countries that do not have great human rights records or are extremely far left, I can see him supporting that. But overall, foreign policy, I agree. I don't think
it's not that optimal.
It's not a good scenario under Sanders. Domestic policy. How do you think?
I think that would be a strong suit, definitely, or social issues.
Social
strong
issues,
issue because he's a socialist. But I mean.
Well, yeah, I feel he will definitely prosper into that. He is definitely making gains in people who feel that, with liberals who feel that Hillary Clinton isn't doing enough to cover social issues. He definitely already has the bonus that he supported the civil rights movement when it occurred. So he hopefully for him will be able to benefit greatly from the black vote.
Definitely.
There, as also Hillary Clinton. If it comes down to him and Hillary Clinton, Clinton will most likely take the female vote.
Most likely.
Which could definitely hurt him, which is, I think, one of the big reasons why he can't get the nomination is because Clinton pretty much cannot lose the female vote.
Right.
It's virtually impossible for her to do so, especially in liberal circles. So that's right there, 50% of the population. Then with the rest of it split up, I'm assuming it's not going to be every single man's going to vote for Sanders either.
Right.
So Clinton will, no matter how hard it gets for Clinton, no matter how big of a threat, I definitely think Clinton will be able to pull through overall.
Definitely.
Now, other people who could pull through, who do you think could run before 2016 who has a chance of winning?
I have 3 candidates on my mind.
Who you think will start running? So yes, we're primarily going to try to discuss liberal ones just to keep the theme. But if you have a Republican one, it's perfectly fine to delve into him or her.
Well, I can tell you 2 that will not run.
But you would like them to run?
No, not really, because they can't.
Just 2 individuals who will not run.
Well, 1 actually.
All right, who's the individual?
Well, George H.W. Bush.
Okay, clearly, Bush Sr. will not run, considering he is 91.
All right.
And has already served as president.
But I do have 3 that could possibly run and would be interesting.
And he would be competing against his son. So who do you think, to quote actually George H.W. Bush's son, a plan grounded in reality, when he was referring to Donald Trump's immigration plan, but I digress. Who do you think realistically could announce their candidacy? All right, who are these 3?
John Kerry.
You think John Kerry could announce?
Probably. I mean, it's getting a little late, but I think it's still possible.
I don't see him trying to run again after his kind of failure in 2004. I mean, he unfortunately lost to George W. Bush, who liberals absolutely hate. I feel like that's too much of a blow to his reputation in liberal circles.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is the one who I think is most likely.
Exactly, most likely.
I can see he definitely has the most chance of running. He actually has been consistently, despite not even announcing his candidacy, has been polling 3rd in most Democratic caucuses. I believe in Iowa. I'll pull up the polls right now.
But I think he's 13% of the Democrats like him, and I think Clinton it's
yes, consistently around 13%.
48 or 49, Clinton, and then Sanders is like 30.
Yes. So Sanders is around 32, Clinton's around 40. So, yeah, definitely. And who was the 3rd person?
Al Gore.
You think Al Gore could announce his candidacy?
Apparently a top Democrat official said that he was considering it.
That is interesting. I feel it would be the same issue with George H.W. Bush, but it could be as if you talk to a Democrat, the election is much more disputed than with John Kerry. That would be very interesting to see Clinton versus Gore, the first lady versus the vice president.
Who would you rather have?
Who would I rather have?
I would. Gore, even though his climate, policy.
He is a bit of a green extremist,
for sure.
Him inventing the internet is a little bit.
I'm hoping he's more of a centrist.
I'm hoping he's more center left than Hillary is. I would rather have him run, him be the Democrat nominee than Clinton.
For sure.
Overall, I can see Joe Biden definitely running. I can't see him winning unless he really starts a campaign.
He's kind of an awkward candidate.
He unfortunately, yes, he just doesn't have. He has been compared. I've been reading in a. I can't name the source off the top of my head, but has been compared to basically for those people who dislike George W. Bush, a Democrat George W. Bush. He has had several political gaffes and issues in the past, and was once forced to drop out of a presidential race.
I don't remember that one. Was that 80 something?
I don't quote me on the year, but I believe it was then. But he doesn't have a great track record. But I do think he is definitely the most, out of all the Democratic candidates, he's the most personable. He's the nicest. I think he's a very nice. I don't know him personally, but he seems like a nice person.
It's not Dick Cheney.
Yes, he's definitely not Dick Cheney. He has the personality factor.
Yeah, definitely.
He never shot anybody.
Oh boy, he's a funny candidate.
He's funny. I think he can connect to people much more than Clinton can. Clinton, one of her big things to overcome is that she is very unpersonable
and disliked. And she claims she's an average person, but she makes a lot.
That is also one of the issues that Democrats have. They state that they represent the middle class while simultaneously they claim that they represent the middle class while Republicans don't, when in fact, in many cases,
make more than
Clinton actually makes a lot more than Republicans. I think that overall politicians do have the issue of in general, high-level politicians have ways to make a lot of money, so it is always difficult for them to be able to say they represent the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, that's never really entirely true if they say they are middle class, unless they truly, truly are.
Yeah.
With the majority of candidates, I believe almost all of them are millionaires, and in Donald Trump's case,
billionaires.
So, if you count his full assets, he may possibly be, I believe, as you said earlier, the wealthiest president.
Definitely the wealthiest president.
In his announcement speech, one of the things that's great about him, he is really, really rich.
10 billion. I can't do a Donald Trump impersonation.
Yeah.
I tried.
But, so it is, with representing the middle class, it is much more difficult for them to do it. Clinton she's just doesn't connect very well to people. She's been working at it. I've listened to some of her speeches. She's been doing very well, but clearly, if you've seen the video with the email issue, that when she was asked about the email, then I feel she reverted back to her face. Joe Biden, though, he does not need to work on that. He doesn't need to get a personality therapist. He already has the personality.
Right.
He definitely, I think he could, if he ran hard, could overtake Bernie Sanders, but
maybe.
I can see it happening just because I can see him swinging center people that Sanders just can't swing.
Yeah, I agree. Is it because he's older?
No, I don't think age will actually affect this election very much. I think Reagan definitely kind of broke the age stereotypes. Mm-hmm. Clearly people always complain, it's going to be an old person, just an old white man, or as people complain about the Republican Party. But Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, they aren't exactly young, diverse individuals either.
For sure.
But, with Joe Biden, he definitely could do good. He couldn't win, though. It's too late. But he was, is it confirmed that his son's request was for him to run?
I think that is confirmed.
His son's last request was for him to be president. So he clearly has
some pressure
on him in this case.
I think someone said he would decide by the end of the summer if he was going to run.
In summer? All right, so he has about almost exactly a month, I suppose. Summer ends September 21st, I believe.
Yeah, I give him some time.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely. It's probably a very difficult decision for him. Do you think would Biden? The only thing is though with Biden, people aren't Obama's approval ratings aren't doing very well, and I feel people will most likely associate Joe Biden with President Obama's policies as he has fully supported all of them. Mm-hmm. So I think that will definitely, if he decides to run, will come back to haunt him.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely will not be able to win people who dislike Obama. So overall, he couldn't, even if somehow he became the Democratic nominee, couldn't win the nation.
Does Al Gore deserve to be president?
Do you think I think I'll vote if he runs hard. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't deserve the presidency.
I mean, if you believe, the Florida recount should have happened.
Oh, do you mean should he have been president?
Well, no. Does he deserve to be it now? I mean, he was kind of denied it in 2000.
I don't think based on that. I mean, if you don't, I think the electoral college system isn't the greatest system in the world.
I think it should be just by popular vote.
Possibly. I do not know. I am not an election analyst, so I don't think I would be the best person on that. But I do think we need to work on that. We also need to work to prevent voter fraud, which has been not a major issue in the past, but in addition, the electoral college hasn't been a major issue. It's not like every single year it is decided by that. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, for both people to be happy, I think if the electoral college was abolished, it would be much harder to argue with election results, as it would simply be most people wanted this guy or woman, and that's the person who's president now. Mm. But it definitely won't be abolished for some time to come, as it's definitely not a high priority on any issues.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think we've covered most of these issues pretty well.
Covered most of them. 25 minutes in, we could talk about our plans for the future of the podcast, just to fill time up. Okay, so we're trying to get around 30 minutes. Unfortunately, this episode was a little short.
Was a little bit shorter than we
planned.
But I guess so. Now we're just going to kind of discuss the episode. If any of you are still listening, as unfortunately many of our viewers have stated that they watched or listened to our podcast for about 3 minutes and grew bored, we will try to keep them more interesting and spice them up with
Rudy Giuliani and Donald
with
Trump.
Our flair, as we discussed last week. With
comedic flair.
Yeah, comedic flair of the cross-dressing Rudy Giuliani being motorboated by Donald Trump.
Man, that's some good times.
Those were quite interesting. That was a quite interesting little clip. So basically, what we would like to start doing is we're releasing all of these videos around the same time, just so we can get them out there, so you guys can get
some first impressions.
What we like we said in our previous episodes, please leave any constructive criticism you have in the comments section below or on our Instagram pages.
Constructive criticism.
Yes. However, we have received some less than appropriate.
We should just read hate comments.
Constructive criticism. We do not have a ton of hate comments, but we do have
a fair amount.
a couple. Please refrain from using. If you do not like what we're doing on the show, please refrain from using. I'll just say R-rated language.
There's people will read that.
Yes. In addition to that, as we cannot read that on our show if we are reading hate comments, but
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so please leave any constructive criticism in the comments.
And recommend the show, too.
Recommend new topics. We really would like to work on. We have new topics ourselves that we're trying to come up with. But if there's something that the viewers want to hear about, we would love to cover it.
Definitely.
We want to be able to try to develop a base of followers, and we want to do what you guys want to do. So we'd like to eventually kind of develop into a schedule where we will be, hopefully, the schedule is still up to plan, but release anywhere from 2 to 4 videos a week, maybe more.
4 is a little of a stretch.
4
we could during the school year.
One of the issues is, as the school year is upon us now, it will be upon us in a few days. We will not be able to record whenever we want. We'll need to be able to most likely record several at once
schedule.
And release them at different times. But I can see 4 being a possibility if we keep them at.
That'd be rough.
I
think we can do 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
4 would be tough. We'd have to literally film like 2 hours worth of footage.
It'll be up to debate, but we'd like to open up a couple of different segments. Of course, we would like to do a weekly thing where we discuss like the recent news and the election.
Definitely. Guest hosts?
What, sir?
Guest hosts?
We're considering having guest hosts. Possibly, we would consider ourselves, I guess, to be center right individuals.
Definitely. Center right.
Of course, as we are innocent youth, those opinions are up to change.
Yeah.
But we may have a center left or far left panel for the show, as we do know individuals who hold those political leanings.
Yeah, definitely.
We may try to branch out and get a more diverse opinions of the issues going on. We would like to possibly do a series on Canadian politics. For those of you who don't understand Canadian politics, which is very common, we'd like to kind of explain it. So if we ever mention Canadian politics in our videos and the Canadian election, which is going to be on us in less than 2 months.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
You will be able to understand and hopefully get a better grasp on how it affects you, despite you being most likely an American based on your viewership history.
We might do specials, if that's possible.
We may be doing specials on certain topics.
That's significant.
We may have debates. Like we said, leave any suggestion you have in the comments.
Definitely.
On our Instagram pages, which would be Clark Walburger, VP, and Jack Horvath, VP.
Or the regular account.
Or Jack Horvath's regular account. I do not have one, as I am fully devoted to my vice presidentship.
But yeah, we'll advertise it as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Now, so we'd like to, the Canadian politics, we'd also would possibly like to branch off and do other just topics that we feel would be interesting to discuss, possibly parts of history we feel are underrepresented, or just issues in general, topics, just
the news.
Things. The news, I think we would keep in our weekly thing.
We could try pop culture.
Interesting topics. Pop culture.
We could try.
If we ever want to, that could be our mysterious fourth thing.
Maybe a special.
Again, specials, though, that might be something we reserve as special. But I think it would be, we don't want to solely have this be politics. We feel it could get a little bit boring. We want to be able to spice it up. We want to branch out. We want to continue to give you the, I guess, high school perspective on the world at large.
For sure.
So, yeah, I suppose we're
good. We're good. 30 and a half minutes.
We've reached 30 and a half minutes. So like we said, we hope you've enjoyed what we've discussed. We hope you were listening to the end, as, again, we really want to be able to represent you guys. Tell us what you want to see. We will hopefully be able to include it. Please keep your comments clean.
Should we talk about, because I remembered in the second video, maybe our opinions, if they're valid, or what did you say in the first one, the pilot at the very end?
Oh yes, and also...
we missed that in the second one.
We would like to state, and we were unfortunately not able to say this, but we reserve the right to state that if any of our opinions are found to be, are held to be upstanding and accurate in the future, we reserve the right to state that it shows our natural intelligence, as we found these opinions and views as in our youth when we were young and innocent. However, if these views are found to be offensive, wrong, or simply idiotic, we also reserve the right to state that any and all opinions found were made in the naivete of our childhood and bear no resemblance on our future careers.
Definitely.
Basically, we're trying to inoculate ourselves from any and all critics.
All
right, so we hope you enjoyed. We're now going to have our third episode, which will be on, I guess, alternate history, sort of.
That'll be fun.
So yeah, well, we hope you enjoyed, and I guess we're signing off. I'm your host, Clark Walburger.
I'm Jack Horvath. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Adios.
Adieu.